50 years ago today, August 15th, 1974, it was a Thursday. As I record this, it's August 15th, 2024, a Thursday. How time flies. 50 years ago today, I was a machinist, trainee, at Cessna Aircraft Company's Prospect plant outside Wichita. I worked second shift, worked 4:23 p.m. to 1:23 a.m. They staggered shifts by minutes to improve traffic flow. They'd actually done a study about that, and it did help a lot. So I was there 9 hours. After 2 hours work, I had a 15-minute break. And then 2 hours work, 30-minute lunch, 2 hours work, 15-minute break, then 2 hours, it's 1:23 a.m. I got off work, stopped at a 24-hour convenience store on the way home. I purchased a frozen pepperoni pizza, a quart of Coca-Cola, soon to become metric system 2-liter bottles, half a gallon of Butterbrickle ice cream, and a paperback book or magazine. Now, on this particular day, 50 years ago, I purchased Beyond Earth, Man's Contact with UFOs by Ralph Bloom with Judy Bloom. And through the miracles of computer technology and software improvements, I can show you online. That's very similar to the cover of the book I purchased. And I didn't mean to throw it away, but I cannot find that particular copy. It may have fallen apart. So, years pass, and what do you know? I write a review. 2023, last year, that's me, Robert Beatty. I gave it a 5-star review. And I'm the first one they list here under top reviews. So anyway, I'm not talking much about UFOs. It just happens to be how it started. I am working with a cousin on a book about this subject matter, but before I read that, earlier that year, I read the Rolling Stone feature article by Joe Esterhaus. Excellent feature article. January 74. Now, President Nixon. So anyway, I went home that day and washed, ate, read a bit, went to my garage where I had my writing equipment, and completed the first draft of my first novel 50 years ago. It was a science fiction novel. I'm not going to get into it. It wasn't very good. Most first novels aren't. To write a novel then, I used a manual typewriter. I put what was called onionskin paper down, then carbon paper, then drafting paper. I rolled the 8.5 by 11 3 papers together into the manual typewriter. If I made a minor mistake, I used some type of whiteout, named brands vary, to cover the what I typed, and then I typed over it again. So I opened a container, painted this white paint on the paper over the letters, and then I typed over that. if I made a longer mistake or just wanted to retype a new sentence, I just had to, I had tried. It just doesn't work. If you're going to retype an entire sentence, you just got to take the paper out, put in onionskin paper, carbon paper, drafting paper, roll it back into the typewriter, retype the whole page. And if you finished, I reread it. Next day, usually I'd look at it, throw it out, start over, put in onionskin paper, carbon paper, drafting paper. Drafting paper was just white paper, but it wasn't as expensive or as high as quality as you'd use for the submission draft. So that was writing, the technology of 50 years ago, over and over. Now, on this day 50 years ago, I finished writing my book about 8 a.m., Thursday, August 15, 1974, and then I went to sleep. I was up about 12:30, ate lunch, packed a lunch for work, departed for work about 3:30, started work at 4:23 p.m. and day repeated, off at 1:23 a.m. Stopped at a convenience store, bought frozen pizza, ice cream, quart of soda pop, Booker magazine, went home. Every working day was the same. When I was happy with what I'd written, I used better quality and more expensive paper instead of drafting paper. Packaged my book, mailed it to Avon, included an SASE, big self-addressed stamped envelope. And Avon sent my novel right back with a form rejection letter. Yeah, that's the way it was. Now, about 5 years later, my wife surprised me with an electric typewriter gift for Christmas. I was skeptical, but of course I could not refuse the gift. She was so happy. I had to pretend to be much happier than I was. I knew many writers who did not consider using an electric typewriter to be writing. Real writing was done on a manual typewriter. Now, electric typewriter did improve speed. I did not have to paint using whiteout. I mean, using, opening a bottle and using a little paintbrush. On the electric typewriter, the cartridge had a whiteout option. I could flip a lever and white out a character or even a few words, then type over the page. And this continued, finished the 70s, into the 80s. I'm still rolling in this triple paper: onionskin paper, carbon paper, drafting paper. And in the middle 1980s, roughly, I started using a Commodore 64, a computer. I was not an early adopter. Most writers I knew did not consider using a computer to write to be writing. They considered using a Commodore 64 to be cheating. But I no longer need to use onionskin paper and carbon paper. I remember keeping I did have to have a printer though. I remember keeping my last reams of onionskin paper and carbon paper for years. Finally, I threw them out. Didn't use it anymore. Didn't need it. End of an era. I joined those who were no longer considered to be real writers because did not use an old manual typewriter or even an electric typewriter. I used a computer. Now, at the very end of the 1980s, I bought a DOS type of computer, and DOS is an acronym for Disk Operating System. I was mighty reluctant to join this group of people, but I did join. And one older writer friend said we couldn't be friends anymore. I was no longer a real writer because not only was I using a computer, which was hardware, but using computer software, because I used the computer software WordPerfect. He said I was no longer a real writer. All right, so I graduated law school using this new DOS and WordPerfect. Computers with software really did help me speed up production. I did not spend nearly as much time retyping pages or using whiteout editing products. Sometime after I became a practicing lawyer, I joined the internet with a new product called America Online. And a few years later, I asked a computer systems manager friend of mine if I should purchase one of the new Graphical User Interface systems, either Apple or Microsoft Windows, and he said no. He's very dismissive. He said, Gooey is a fad. In 3 years, he said, no one will even remember Apple or Windows. Gooey is a fad. Keep your DOS. This was circa 1994, 30 years ago, 20 years after I'd finished writing my first novel. Today, next on my to-do list after this YouTube video, is to start learning how to write with AI, artificial intelligence. I will again hear that I'm no longer a real writer because I'm using technology and software and online technology and software to write. I've heard that before. It's another name for artificial intelligence. It's called software. It's like WordPerfect. Been using software since the 1980s. As far as I can tell, this AI writing, it'll still be my writing, but once again, it will speed up my production. But undoubtedly, the same people who complained about my using advanced for the day technology and software will complain about me using this. So I don't really want to hear from you because it's just the latest thing. I'm going to try it. Maybe I won't like it, but I'm going to try it. So 50 years ago, of course I was much younger, and lived in a town. Now I'm in a retirement community. I've showed you this before if you followed me. It's a wheat field right outside my window. That's where I live, on the edge of a, that's not a wheat field, it's a cornfield, but they're across the road over there. That was a wheat field. This will be dirt in a few weeks, and then I don't know what they'll plant. If it'll be wheat or what, they vary. I don't own that land, so it's not up to me. But this I have a little control over. I'm going to try to write using AI, and you can complain about it if you wish, but as far as I'm concerned, it's faster than using whiteout and carbon paper.